You've got a QB who's taken you to multiple NFC title games and a Super Bowl, and y'all want to flick him for somebody who was the number one pick in the draft, who has shown through 5 years to have major limitations with his decision-making on the field. I know that Trevor Lawrence has not had an ideal situation above him.
Oh, you think?
I'm very well aware. But good Lord. Number one overall pick in the draft. We knew about it for a year and a half before it even happened. He's had 4 to 5 years since then, and a brand spanking new last year $55 million per year deal. I would think that a lot of you would expect more from him. He has not been good, and that's just a fact. He has not been good. Would you rather hear Greg Cosell say it? Because he did. He has not been good. He's not been good. But you're stuck because he was the number one overall pick.
For me, it has nothing to do with the pick.
Maybe not for you, but for a lot of people, I'm looking at these comments, and it's like, I don't know what you saw him do at Clemson that gave you some sort of a reaction, but like, he's here. He's here in the NFL, and he has largely, I won't call him a bust. I won't do that. But disappointing? Hell, yes.
He's been a little bit less than you would hope, and I do think a lot of it comes down to where you are born. And he was born into Urban Meyer, and then Darrell Bevell took over. So his rookie year, and I'm just looking at it here, he got a chance to throw to a 31-year-old Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault Jr., and Laquan Treadwell. Brock Purdy came in, and he got to throw to Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo, and Ayuk. So slightly different situations.
For sure.
He had Urban Meyer, who was an absolute flat-out joke of a head coach. And then you get Doug Peterson for a couple of years, and things are okay. He makes the playoffs with a slightly better roster, and now you go to Liam Cohen. So now you've got Liam Cohen, a guy who has never been a head coach before, and it's 3 games in, and I will not look at his roster now and say, well, you don't have anything. He's got a lot. He's got multiple first-round picks as weapons. He's got an offensive-minded head coach who is young, hungry, with a plan. And so, yeah, for me, this is the year where you look at it and you go, all right, Trevor, time for you to be good and be better. And 3 games in, he's not been great, but they're 2-1.
It's funny. I feel like we do this every year. Okay, Trevor, this is the year. Oh, okay, next year's the year. Like, we've been doing this for 3 years with Trevor Lawrence.
9 and 8 years, not a disaster.
If we're going to only adjudicate what's going on around them, then yes, the Trevor Lawrence side of the debate is going to win. There's no question that Brock Purdy has had a much, much better landing spot than Trevor Lawrence. I just feel that because of those surroundings, we're ignoring some things that are very, very clear about Trevor Lawrence. You said one of them to me during the break.
Yep.
The dude holds on to the ball too long. It's the worst thing that a quarterback can do. Okay? His decision-making out there has not been great. I can give you tons of examples. If you want to make this solely about coaching, then why was Tom Brady good in Tampa? Like, are you telling me that sometimes the player to a degree doesn't help? And I'm not saying it's the case here, but doesn't the player sometimes help make the coach? Why is Bill Belichick, like, the Patriots and him didn't get along once Tom left?
Well,
now he's at North Carolina.
Tampa walked into a roster that was amazing. They had an amazing defense, and they had, like, Hall of Fame talent around him.
And Tom is next level, maybe has a level to his own. I fully understand that, but the examples are often out there. We can definitely find more where just because your coaching isn't ideal isn't a franchise quarterback at $50-something million a year asked to elevate that a little bit. And I would ask Trevor Lawrence to do that. Dude, you were the bee's knees. Everybody knew you were the number one pick in the draft the second you showed up at Clemson and started playing. And then, well, how many coaches do we go through and it's not Trevor's fault? How about that question?
Well, how about we wait until we find a coach who's actually really good? And this is where you and I were getting into it on the text thread earlier today, because if you go around the league and you find established head coach who's been there for a while and quarterback who's been with that head coach for a while, you have 6 or 7 or 8 examples of guys who have gotten better, played well, and been successful. And so he hasn't had that. Brock Purdy's had that. Brock Purdy's never played for anyone other than Kyle Shanahan.
I don't disagree with that.
You and Joe Thomas both think that he's the absolute creme de la creme. And so Brock Purdy, he walked in and he got to play football around Hall of Famers and for an amazing coach who had been in the system for a long time. That matters.
It does. But
matters a lot.
It does, but it's also largely about winning. Like, I'll give you another example. What about Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford kind of had this situation, and he went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. But if you do go back to his time at Detroit, they didn't win a lot, but he played well. His numbers were there. You could watch him and go, that's a good quarterback.
And he had the same coach for a lot of that.
He did.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz was there forever.
Well,
I actually
not
looked
all
it up.
of it.
I looked it up earlier, and I think he had 6 years with Jim Schwartz, and he played well, and they didn't win a lot.
Who's a defensive-minded coach, by the way.
Right, and they had the same offensive coordinator for a lot of that as well.
So, I mean, look, obviously none of these things are the same, but you can bounce around the league, and I would just say, like, wow, I wish all quarterbacks got this kind of grace that it seems a lot of you want to give Trevor Lawrence. I don't mind if you're in a bad sort of landing spot, your organization's not great, you're in middle of nowhere, Florida, and you're not winning games. Okay, I'm not going to put that all around your neck, but he's not even playing well. He doesn't even play good quarterback. His numbers aren't good. He looks like he's getting worse over the last couple of years, holds on to the ball too long, the decision-making's bad, his coach is yelling at him on the sideline, and he's waving him off. Sure, BTJ's dropped a couple balls. Like, let's not make it about. Yeah, he's had a weird start to the year. But
I think he has a wrist injury, but you know, that's if you're out there playing, then you got to play through whatever you have.
Trevor should be better. Trevor absolutely, unequivocally should be better.
Well, they're sitting at 2-1, so I don't look
that's
at
this year. I'm talking about his
the
whole
Niners.
career.
The Niners are 3-0, and they probably have no business being 3-0.
He hasn't even played in two of the games.
Because he hurt his toe.
Oh, don't start that.
I just did that for you. He hurt his toe. He couldn't play through a toe, and they won 2 games without him. And you know, last year Trevor went 2-8, and Mac Jones went 2-5. So if you want to talk about like what Jacksonville was last year, everybody's favorite Niner, Mac Jones, who's 2-0 here. He couldn't win with that team last year any more than Trevor Lawrence could.
Look, nobody's denying that the 49ers are a better franchise and are better coached than the Jags. I will freely admit that. But I just think that at a certain point, especially as you start to get 3, 4, 5, 6 years into a career, like sink or swim. And one guy has done a lot of winning and the other one hasn't. And especially when you run it through the prism of where they were picked, it's fascinating to me how many people think that this is an easy answer. I won't sit here and tell you I think Trevor would stink on the Niners. That's not even what I'm getting at. But, like, once you're picked, now you're just a person. Come on in here and succeed. And so
for me, it's not about where he was picked.
I divorce myself from that as quickly as possible.
It's about what he was paid. And you could look at Dak Prescott, I think, as a decent comp, and even Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray got to that spot where, do we pay you or do we move on? We're going to pay you. And, well, you had Kingsbury, and now you have Gannon, and now Kyler Murray looks actually better than he looked before. And Dak Prescott, what do we do? We're going to pay him. And now they've had coaching changes, and now they got rid of their best defensive player, and their owner is kind of a moron. And so every situation is different, and Trevor Lawrence he's not a victim of being the number 1 pick, and he's not a victim of his contract, but forget where he was picked. Now you're making this much money. Now you have a coach who's competent. Now you have talent around you. Okay, I'm not saying the first 4 years don't matter because everything matters, but now you have no excuses. If you don't come out and play well now with Liam Cohen and Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter and Etienne, now it becomes more of a spotlight on you and your ability. If he and Liam Cohen are going back and forth at each other, and I didn't see the clip, I don't even know what that looked like.
It was one time.
And that's, grown men playing professional tackle football. And
he blew him off.
Right.
Trevor was
he's 3 games into it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Trevor's out there trying to do what he can do. And interesting about him holding the ball too long because Brock Purdy has a higher sack percentage than Trevor Lawrence on dropbacks. Now, Lawrence is asked to do a lot more. He's asked to throw it a lot more often, regularly, than Brock Purdy has in his career. So you would figure his sack percentage would be higher, and it's in fact lower.
Yeah, they both move well. Trevor's obviously got a stronger arm, but that's part of kind of what I'm getting at. Boy, do we fall in love with this stuff. You know whose name should come up? And it always comes up in this situation. Actually, there's 2 options I could bring up. But, the falling in love with measurables leads you to Jeff George and Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
Why? Someone just said, oh, you're in Kyle's offense, and therefore we know how that offense runs, and it's based on a quarterback being able to see it and anticipate. Well, okay, that's a skill. And quite frankly, I would take that as my number one skill for any quarterback I draft. You can have Johnny Strongarm. Give me the guy who sees it. That's what I want. I want the guy who sees it. Now, the best quarterback is the one who does both.
Sure.
Obviously. But to me, if we just...
Maybe Josh Allen, probably.
Yeah, if we spotlight that characteristic, to me, that's where my head goes. If I can only have one, and I got a quarterback who sees it, and I got a quarterback who's got all the measurables, give me the quarterback who sees it. And I think Brock sees it better than Trevor. Would you trade Brock Purdy for Trevor Lawrence if you could? Mythical conversation, obviously. What would it take for you to get to the point where you're like, maybe Trevor Lawrence wasn't worth the number one overall pick in the draft?
What does that matter, though?
It matters to this conversation. Because
it doesn't, because the Niners took Trey Lance at number 3 in that same draft.
Well, so why don't all of you still cape up for him, by the way?
Cape up for Trey Lance?
Yes.
He's shown himself to not be capable in multiple systems.
Has he? I thought he hasn't gotten a chance. That's what I'm told on the internet. He hasn't even barely played in this league.
That's fine, but no team that he's been on has looked at him and go, whoa, Shanahan missed on this one.
Well, but the point is that if you're going to go by measurables, there's nothing you can fall in love with Trevor other than measurables. I'm with you that you can feel sympathy for the landing spot and the situation. But what I want to know is, what do all of you football experts see when you break down the film that suggests, no, Trevor is a great quarterback? You haven't seen it. And the only reason you feel that way is because draftism. Number one pick in the draft. And I swear I'm going to put my flag here and I won't leave no matter how much evidence I get. I'm not saying he sucks. He's not the worst quarterback in the league. And I'm certainly not saying he wouldn't be better in San Francisco. But good Lord, you've got a QB who's taken you to multiple NFC title games and a Super Bowl, and y'all want to flick him for somebody who was the number one pick in the draft, who has shown through 5 years to have major limitations with his decision-making on the field.